Welcome to Loose Links. We are back, and it's so good to be back here this evening. Thank you for joining us. On tonight's show, we talk about 237 properties being built in a hometown maybe you live in. But is it right to be spending money on property at the moment? Also, we discuss exams being judged by teachers. So no exams this year. You get a grade by a teacher. How do we feel about that? Also, we finish on cycling through the town of Grimsby and people being fined. All that on today's show. Hello, alongside me, Nicholas James, on today's show is Claire Brown and May.
Hi.
Sue Craven.
Hi.
And Tonya White.
Hi.
As we discuss on today's show, as said, we talk about 237 homes being built, but really, is it a time to be spending money on property? Also, we discuss exams, but no exams. The teacher is grading every student. No exams this year because of the pandemic, but is that right? Also, we finish on cycling through a hometown, maybe just around the corner from you, but people being fined for. Is it really using police resources in the best way we can possibly do it? All that and a lot more on this week's Loose Linc. Good evening, panel!
Good evening!
Oh, it's so good to be back!
Can I ask you, everybody's been asking and been worried about you.
Oh.
How are you feeling and what has been happening?
Well, briefly, I won't go into too much detail, I promise. I'm a type 1 diabetic and I caught a 24-hour bug that lasted a week. To all diabetics out there, you know that your sugar levels should be between 4 and 8, and my sugar levels were in their 60s. So an ambulance was called out, was taken by the ambulance. I can't praise the NHS more than I've never felt so poorly in all my life. I ended up spending a week with the NHS, hence why we had a repeat episode last week. And I was really surprised, really. They had to put a load of drips in me. I'm bruised like Billy-O. I just absolutely covered in bruises. But the biggest surprise that I got really was the original doctor that came to see me just as I was being discharged, said to me, "You're really lucky." And I was like, "Lucky?" And he says, "I was preparing to lose you." So that was a very, very scary experience.
Yeah, I bet.
But feeling a lot better and very, very thankful to the NHS.
Nick, what was the process like? You know, when you arrived at hospital, how did you find all that?
It was actually okay. Because of having such a severe, I don't know if to call it disability or not, but severe problem, I was rushed straight through. There was trolleys hanging outside waiting for a bed to get in, that I was rushed straight through. And I was really lucky in the fact that I was put on MEAU, and MEAU worked with me. I ended up crying on a few nurses because I just felt so poorly, but they finally got me on a diabetic ward at the end of it. And I just so thankful, because I didn't eat for a week because I couldn't keep anything down. But so thankful for all the process of all that.
Oh, Nick, that's good to hear. And how are you feeling now?
A lot better. Back on form, hence why recording tonight. The only thing that I would say is an aftermath, really, is that I went for a walk into town yesterday and I got back and I was exhausted. I can't believe how much it's taken it out on my body, to be honest. I'm just sleeping a lot and stuff like that, but feeling a lot better. So also, to finish on that note, because I don't want to talk about me all night, finishing on that note, thank you to all the support out there. My word, I was absolutely surprised at the messages that I got and people's comments about when it was put up that I was poorly. I didn't even know that had gone up. Thank you, Suzanne. But yeah, I'm just showered with praise. I know I can't remember his name, but there was one guy that actually made me cry in hospital. He put, "Get well soon, Nick. It's not the same without you on airwaves. Make sure you come back to us soon." So I was really touched by that. I was really like, oh, people do actually watch the show. It's not just all of us talking. Welcome, Tonya White. We've got a new panel member to the panel, to the Loose Links family. She's successfully passed her interview with flying colours. So she's now here. So welcome, Tonya. Welcome to the Loose Links.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Fantastic. So let's talk about our first hometown. So everybody, let's do the famous wave that we always do. Good evening, people of Louth. As we talk about you first this evening, as Louth plans 237 new homes approved in Louth, have been given planning permission to go ahead. It all started in the year of 2019 and has been given now the go-ahead. That did make me think. We're in the middle of a pandemic and people are struggling to make ends meet. So my first question is, do you think in a time that we are now, building new homes is the right way forward when people are struggling to survive? Oh, silence is gone.
Well, I can only talk about the area that I'm in that has had new homes built, just not very far from me. And I think it's a great idea as long as you have all the services that you need, which were promised and they still haven't been realised, like doctors. The schools, I think we have enough. Transport, public transport, because obviously it's going to introduce more traffic, and that could be a huge problem if you don't plan for these things, because I'm not particularly aware of Louth. I've only been there once, but I do know it's quite a small streets. It's an old town. So if you have increased traffic, then you're going to have a lot of problems like we have where I am now. So I don't think it's a good idea. And also for job security, I don't know how these people could even think about getting a mortgage now these days. So I'm saying no, I don't think it's a good time.
So what do you think? Do you think as everybody's struggling and being furloughed and stuff like that, that people are really thinking about even moving house at the moment?
I think some people are, because I think we're always going to need new house, and we're always going to need, especially youngsters, getting onto the housing market. A lot of these houses will be buy to let. A lot of these houses will be part, so that they can get on the ladder. So that they're part ownership, aren't they, and things. And I think people are still planning. And if people have been lucky enough to keep in their job, they have got, they've probably been able to, because they've not been going out, they've not been going out to eat, they've not been shopping as much, they've not been entertainments and things. They've probably been trying to save a bit of money, and they might have some money to put down as a deposit. I think where there is a housing shortage, and I think the reason they're doing it in places like Louth is to try and keep a few more people in that area. Otherwise, they move out into the city, they move out to Lincoln, or they move out wherever, and we lose them. We need to keep the people where they were probably born and brought up. But that's just my opinion.
What do you think, Claire? Do you agree?
Well, I just think where there's a plot of land, a builder's going to find it and they're going to build. With it being a big city, a small town, or what. Now, if I agree with this or not, it's 50-50, because, like you say, we've just had this pandemic, not many people working, but then you're then going to get these 200 odd homes, which will create jobs. So, will it bring people into the area, or will it keep people in the area? And again, it's like what Sue said, it will be on the basis of to get them on the property ladder, which, it's a struggle to do that. So me personally, I don't know, because like you say, Louth, do they want all that traffic? But again, they want to keep it a nice community with people in it. So, and it does bring jobs. So
I feel like the Grinch.
yeah,
I'm the panel this evening because I don't agree with it at all. I completely get what you're saying, Sue. Completely get that. Completely get that people are starting and trying to find property, and we need to be able to do that. But really, couldn't this be postponed for a year? Couldn't this be let's use council money where it's most needed at the moment, getting people back into jobs, getting people back into work, getting people. It's almost like we're told to think about staying at home and changing our lives and stuff like that. But when it comes to business, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. We're still going to make a load of properties. We're still going to do this, that, and the other. Is that really the right idea at the moment?
But you see, they'll have money, Nick, that they'll have put aside, which has to be spent on that and not spent on anything else. So that's another thing, their hands are tied. You know, they can't take that money, go and spend it on something else.
And I think also...
Sorry. Go on, Tanya. No, go on.
No. I just think that they should be concentrating on the businesses that are really suffering now, really suffering. So if you have lots of houses but no shops for them to shop at, you're not going to have jobs. And the only jobs they actually are providing are builders. And have they actually, I know this has been going on for a long time in Louth, as it has where I am here. There is still land opposite me that I think the church owns that they were going to build. It goes on for 10 or 20 years. They still talk about, well, we're going to do 277. And then the council says, no, that's too many. So, you know, there's a lot of questions have to be answered, really. And I think the people actually should have a vote on whether they want more. The people who actually live in Louth should be able to, not just the council. I think there should be a referendum.
What do you think also? Do you think, because we've had a lot of different, the councils and the government and everybody have had to provide this sudden money for people being furloughed, the furlough scheme and stuff like that, which has been very, very successful for a lot of people's lives and their livelihood and to keep going and stuff like that. Surely, coming back to you, Sue, surely we can compromise in a time like this, pots of money, and to be saying, okay, it'll have to come from high above, but saying like, we've got this pot of money at the moment for new houses. Actually, could we use that for something different this year and maybe rethink about money for that next year? Surely there's compromise within that.
I don't think it's that. It would be good if it was, but I don't think it's that simple. I think the money is allocated and that's it. And there is still so many people wanting to get on the housing market. I do agree, but where we are, if there's a new estate built, there was a new estate built in the south of the city, but in that they had to agree to provide so many parks, a school, so many shops, a takeaway facility, and they've done it. They've put all those in as well. So they've got their facilities that they need.
Yeah, definitely. Well, moving on then, and maybe we've sort of covered this question a little bit, is do you think that money could be spent on better things? And do you think the council at the moment have got too much time on their hands?
I don't know if they have too much time on their hands. I think they're actually in a critical phase trying to really get on with just coping with everything in their area. Of course, I mean, if they're going to put the council, I think the next question is, are they going to put the council rates up? And I know they're going to put them up in a lot of councils. So maybe they could offset that. That would be nice.
Yeah. What do you think, Claire?
I don't know. Like I say, it's all right. Like about the council taxes and things like that. I don't think they'll offset them. They never go down, do they? If anything, they're going to go up. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. It's already going to go ahead, isn't it? You know, they've got planning permission for it, but like you say, unless they do, the residents around it do something about it, because like you say, why have 237 new homes if the shops and the facilities around are going to be shutting because they can't afford to stay open? You know, is it just going to be that 237 you know, and again, is there, where are the children going to go to school, and things like that? Has that all been, you know, put into thought?
Well, the other thing is, I do think it's going to be us footing the bill, basically, by the end of the day, of COVID and this whole COVID pandemic. It will shoot us back. Government have got to claim back money in some sort of way. But I think the government really need to think about it, because obviously we've good news. If everything goes well, June, we can hug people again. We can talk to people. The social distance rules of everything will be eased, and life will get to some sort of normality again. But I just hope the government then don't jump on claiming money from that month. So, right, we're back to normal now. Everything's back to normal. Let's start giving up the rates. Let's start doing that. I just hope they give us a little bit of leeway, even if it's just to the end of the year, just so we can get back to some sort of normality, some sort of going back to work every day, some sort of, my theory is that we're going to be crashed as soon as July comes on council tax going up and stuff like that. So I really, really hope that it gives us some leeway just to get our lives back up and running again. And especially you guys, tell us what you think, see if you agree, see if you think council tax rates are going to go up at the end of July, really. My theory is then, really. My last question, which is, it takes us a little bit off subject, but it doesn't. They state in the article, as you said, Sue, they state in the article that 25% affordable housing will be offered. Do you think we've still got a very long way to go when it comes to young people being on the property ladder?
Yes, I do. And I think that, like, for a long time, mortgages, you know, when you take one out and that, it's been like for 25 years. And I personally think, you know, they'll up it and they'll say like 35 years, you know, which is not nice. It's probably a lovely feeling when you think, oh, I've nearly paid my mortgage off. But I think the only way that a lot of people will be able to is probably getting help to start with, but then with it being a longer mortgage.
And they are saying as well, aren't they, at the moment, that they're going to try and make it that the deposit that especially first-time buyers only have to put a small deposit down. I think it's going to be something like 10%, or not even that, 5%. So if they're buying an affordable house, that won't be too much out of most people's, you know, they'd be able to do it. So hopefully they will make it more, it'd be easier for people to own.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to throw a question in the mix by the end of this, really, completely changing the subject. But it is still to do with housing and mortgaging, and this is why I wanted to bring up the question. So this is a question from somebody from the LGBT community, because I'm dying to ask. I don't know if you watched the TV drama It's a Sin, which I thought was absolutely incredible. It completely and utterly opened my eyes to how much of a... I've had it easy coming out. I've had it easy telling people and stuff like that. I can't believe how much difference it was 30 odd years ago. So it is now. But the one line that stuck out to me, and I just want to see if you guys have ever experienced this question as well when it comes to mortgages and when it comes to that. In the programme, which I was utterly shocked about, a mortgage advisor asked this main chap, Ollie, whatever his name is in real life, are you gay? Are you homosexual?
Oh, wow.
And have you ever slept with a man? And that was asked in the 80s by a mortgage advisor. And if you said yes, you were refused the house. So when buying a house, was this question ever asked to you?
Not to me, because I was different circumstances. But you've got to remember also, Nick, there was a time that women weren't allowed to get a mortgage. It's always the husband. So the same sort of thing, isn't it? Like women were considered the property of the husband. He had of the children, of everything. So as you know, horrifying, you know, and I lived through these times when, you know, and I lived in a city, you know, you can tell I'm Australian, with Sydney is quite a...
Are you really?
It's a gay population, huge. I mean, everywhere I worked, at the university, everything, you know, huge gay population. It wasn't too bad.
Let me just note that down, Tanya. Just 1 second. Let me just note that down for when I'm thinking about moving. Let me just note
huge Oxford Street.
But I am really shocked, because obviously I didn't live in the 80s, and I thought it was a massive thing to me when I came out.
Yeah.
Huge. But what I learned from It's a Sin is almost the gay community was pushed back into the closet in every aspect of their lives. And I find that really sad. Can you remember the AIDS crisis?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And was you guys afraid of it? Was you guys afraid of AIDS when it first came out?
No, I don't ever remember ever being afraid. As I said, we grew up, I mean, as I said, Sydney was huge gay population and terrible, terrible stories. But I think we were pretty well educated and not biased, or, you know, that was it. Well, I was lucky enough to grow in that sort of environment. So then I moved to another country that probably had a different idea about homosexuality. And that wouldn't surprise me. That would have happened, asking questions like that, or even being, you know, so biased or horrible
it was think. And what really upset me, Nick, and which when that first chap from Wales was diagnosed and he was locked away in that ward on his own, it was just treated like, not, you wouldn't treat a dog like he was treated. And that's what they went through, you know, and you know they did. And as you say, it was just shunned. I mean, we didn't really know of many homosexuals. We didn't know because they just, it wasn't, people didn't talk openly. It wasn't accepted. I think Australia was more open than we were, because we're
very open. Perhaps too much. But sorry, I beg your pardon, Sue.
No, go on.
Princess Diana, remember, she was the first one that went to an AIDS patient and touched them and hugged them, and that changed. I mean, you've got to give her, whatever you think about the royal family, you know, she did the best thing she ever could do. Yeah, have a lot of respect.
I had a friend who was 10 years younger than me, and he'd been married, he'd got some children, but he always knew that he ended up going to Australia for a holiday and coming out, and eventually he stayed there for a year, and eventually he got citizenship. But he went there and he said he was finally felt he'd been accepted.
Yeah, it's not even a blink. I mean, we have the same sex couples having children, going to school.
Do you think it was an eye-opener then? Do you think, first of all, can I just have a nod from you all? Did you all watch it before I carry on? Do you think the women that watched it then, Claire and Sue, do you think it was an eye-opener for, as well as LGBT, for the straight community as well?
A little bit, yeah. But again, I think it was for the parents of that era, like the main character's mother. You know, there's no way that her son was that, you know, even though, you know, he was nice, flamboyant, not saying that you have to be flamboyant, but you know what I mean.
Cheers to that, Claire.
Love being a bit flamboyant. So, no, it didn't really shock me, but like for the what Sue said about the poor gentleman that was shunned and pushed to one side, because people don't know, it's the unknown. And really, in today's society of this virus, still people don't know, or they're blinkered and think there's no virus, but people are making it up, even though there's, thousands, millions dying, and we've all got to take jabs and, oh my goodness. And I think, you go back to the AIDS time and that's what people were. They were blinkered because they just thought, oh, it doesn't happen to me. And
I think it had it's the best drama I've watched in a very long time.
Yeah,
I have got to say that. Credit to the writer and everything, because I thought it was incredible. And I wasn't the one that shoot to BBC iPlayer. I watched it every week. And
so did I.
You watched it till it finished. And I thought the ending was incredible, because I just thought, oh, at last she's going to see him. She's met with the mum. And I was just blown away when she put, and he died this morning. And I was just like, and tears were streaming down my face, because I was like, all she wanted was to see him. That's all she wanted. And she never got it. But anyway, we can't talk about it all night, but share your view to let us know. We will put that as a question on our Facebook. Did you watch It's a Sin? And what did you think about it? Also, what do you think of the building of 237 homes at the moment? Do you think it's the right way to spend money, or do you think government should be looking more into this? As we move on to our next subject now, this is a very open out subject, so it involves the whole of Lincolnshire, so no Pacific town. Exam results to be planned by teachers. No exams for this year over the COVID pandemic. Exam boards will offer optional assessments, materials for schools to be used by Easter, and teachers can pick specific subjects and questions to ask the students, but not in an exam setting. So, do you think this is fair, that teachers can decide the grade of students? Do you think parents and young people will be let down not to be given the chance by an exam? Oh, it's touchy subject tonight.
Well, I can't start because I don't have children. So, but first of all, I think there should be a call out to all the mums and dads who've been homeschooling. They must
definitely. Hello, mums and dads, you've done a great job.
I admire them. I mean, I have my neighbours who are wonderful and they've been doing it. Honestly, I don't know how they do it. But I personally just think they should forget the whole year, really. The whole world has gone topsy-turvy. And the education has been, I don't know, I mean, the parents are complaining they can't keep up, the children can't keep up. And you're talking about, even if they're doing A-levels, you're talking about future doctors, future lawyers, and you want to have the best education for them. And the whole world is suffering. So why not just defer? I know, I suppose it's hard to tell an 18 or a 17-year-old, look, you've got so much ahead of you. There's, a lot going on in your life. Don't worry. But I really just think defer, because I think teachers, although they're obviously the best people to know, but they haven't seen their students for a long time. And also they can be a bit biased. I mean, not being unintentionally biased, because it's human nature. You favour one child maybe over another, or one is misbehaved but might be very intelligent. I mean, there are a myriad. And why put the responsibility? Because the parents, if they don't like the result, they're going to come back at the teachers and blame them. So it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Because last year they had the problem as well. So I just think, why is this just a hurry? I really don't understand this. But then again, as I said, I don't have children, so I leave it up to the other people.
The only thing with deferring is, if you defer, what's going to happen financially to all those universities that are going to have no entrance for a whole academic year?
But the university would be deferred because the students are in the same situation.
But that's what I mean, that they'll still have no universities. So there'll be nobody in their buildings, nobody in their halls, nobody. So, they'll still all have the bills and the upkeep and the maintenance. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I really don't know. Because I do agree with you about teacher assessment. And I do agree with you. I think, especially like the more, well, not the more prestigious, because that sounds awful, but say like Oxford and Cambridge and medicine, schools that go into medicine, I think those A-level students should probably have the assessments from the teachers, but also have to take an entrance exam, because then you might, you know what standard they were up to.
I think they do anyway, don't they? The A levels.
I think they do.
They do. You'd have to get, and the thing, depending how many get A level, that will make out how many actually get into a particular faculty. So if there are a lot of A level passes, then there are a lot more students, or it gets tougher to get into medicine, because then they can pick and choose who they want. So,
well, how are they, like at the moment, there's an option, as you know, for years, there's been an option of resitting your GCSEs and being able to do that. What, is there a system, I know none of us know the answer, but is there a system like that if somebody isn't happy with their grade of GCSE that a teacher has given them? Is there going to be like, is there going to be like an appeal system?
Yes, there is. They've given them till before the university admissions, they've given them a set amount of time for them to debate whether they accept that mark or not. But more stress, as far as I'm concerned, for teachers, for students and for parents.
So your camera's going further up and up and up. We're losing your face.
There we are.
We're losing your face.
I was listening in then and thinking, and I just think, I do know, because I know for the ASs, the teachers do the assessments then. And going back to my son, who, bearing in mind now, is in his 30s and in got his career, he wanted to do a certain thing, and he wanted to be a physiotherapist, and he needed grades, and the teachers did. He always worked hard. He wasn't a shirker. And the grades he needed, when he had his AS results, he didn't get them. The expected grades, they said no. So he didn't apply. We pushed him and said, come on, apply. No, they said, I'm not going to get them. So he applied for something else, which he did do. Anyway, when he got his results, he got higher grades. He got grades which would have got him into what he really wanted as his profession. So that's my only point of all of this at the moment. If they assess them, as you say, however they are, they might just look at pieces of work and think, oh gosh, they might assess them wrongly. They could assess them too low. They could assess them too high. It's so difficult. You just don't know how they're going. I think it's a very difficult situation.
Do you think, though, with this pandemic that we've had, do you feel that there's been a saying going around for years and years on never judge a book by its cover, never ever judge a book by its cover? Do you think we're being better than that now in the year of 2021, or do you think there's still quite a lot of judgment around when it comes to people? Go on, Claire, start us off. Go on, Claire, start us off.
Well, just going back to what you've been talking about, my son left school last year and didn't take any exams. He got graded by the teachers, and all I can say he said was, yes. He hated school and he was dreading his exams, so he just, for him, he's a very anxious young lad anyway, but he was fine. He just thought, but it affects everybody differently, doesn't it?
It does.
And as a parent, I knew he was happy, so I'm not going to pursue that anymore.
The thing is, though, as well, which is really, really interesting, and so it'd be quite good to have your opinion and Claire, actually, because you're both in school settings. So I remember a school teacher, still a friend of mine, actually, a school teacher that I had that said, I was sat in my parents' house, I remember it like it was yesterday, and she looked at my mum and she said, some children just flourish when they actually leave school. instead of being in school. Some
That's
children
true.
just flourish. And
Very
I was
true.
one of those kids. I was, as Sue will tell you, because she's known me from an age dot, because she was born in 1972. But the thing is, I was a very shy, very
Anxious.
anxious, non-talking child. I didn't really interact with people. Doing this 10 years ago, there is no way on God's earth would I have done this. And I've had to learn to be that confident person. And sometimes it is an act. Sometimes it's a complete act, and I have to act it. But you have to fake it until you make it, as they say. But do you agree with that? Do you think some children do flourish more when they need?
Absolutely. I think there's too much emphasis of going to university. I think we need, I mean, not every child wants to be at university. What a waste of time. They could be doing things like apprenticeships. I think the government should be encouraging that and leaving school earlier. You don't have to go. I mean, I was lucky when I left school early, but we had apprenticeships, and I could do like you start off as a junior and you could work your way up, which I did in a working environment, an office environment. And you learned a hell of a lot more than you would in the classroom, but that's what I liked. I mean, I think you have to do what you like. And I mean, and I worked in a university environment for 10 years, and a lot of the students after the first year would change their faculty because they were not happy. They didn't realise how much was involved in that. But how can you make a decision, you know, at 18 what you want to do?
You can't. I agree with you.
You can't. It's like you just want to travel. Actually, you should have a year off. Go travel if you can afford it, and learn about yourself before you can even think about, you know, what's in store for you in your life. So
and that's it. That'd be another good poll, really, about, you know, what you set out, what you wanted to be when you know what you studied for, and then, you know, did you do it for years, or did you think, no way, I don't like that, and go on to something else? You know, all that studying, but it wasn't what you wanted.
No.
Exactly. You do either what the parents want you to do,
yes.
But in Europe it's even worse, you know, because at the age of I think 13, they have to decide what type of high school they want to be, whether it's artistical, scientifical, mechanical, or whatever. So they're at 13 making a decision for the next 6 years. So
that's massive, isn't it? I'm going to ask quite a debatable question here, because I know people that have very strong opinions about this. So it'll be really interesting to find out. Do you feel that the younger generation have suffered more in the pandemic than most have?
I'm going to sound like the old lady. They're never like what I used to be. I'm doing that now, I tell you. All these young ones now, they don't know what suffering is.
The only thing that I would say about it is I do feel for the younger generation.
Oh,
because
yes.
I know parents and people that have really struggled, that they've just missed the social side. They're getting together with their friends. And as you know, for child development, it's really important that children have social lives, social friends, people they can talk to. And I just feel, as a parent out there, how quickly your child can get bored at home. And what it must have been like, Claire, you can tell us actually, because you've got 2 kids at home, haven't you? What it must have been like to have a whole year of isolation.
Well, that's literally just what it was. With, like, I'm in one room, my son's in another, and my daughter's in another, you know. But again, yes, it's not nice, but in this day and age, they've got their internet, you know, they've got TikTok, they've got Facebook. My son goes on the Xbox Fortnite, so he's got his headphones on, so he can still interact. It's not the same, but you know, if we had a pandemic like this years ago, the children would have had nothing. They wouldn't have been able to interact at all.
Exactly.
You know, at least I can hear my daughter upstairs talking to her friends. She is doing online dance classes, which is not ideal, but she's seeing people. You know, and my son, like I say, he goes on the Xbox and interacts that way. So
I've got a friend that I won't say which friend, because it's really not fair for me to say which friend it is. But I've got a friend who has children, 2 children, and my friend said to me, because I rang this friend the other day and said, "How have your children going with the pandemic?" And this friend said to me, "Well, my daughter's really, really suffered with it. She's meltdowns and all of that, and really, really struggled." And I said, "What about your son?" And the friend said, the son basically said to me that I'm absolutely loving it because I don't have to see any idiots that I don't want to see. I can just interact with the people that I want to interact with. And I was like, I'm sure a lot of adults have that feeling too.
I think because I work in the foundation stage, like 3 and 4 year olds, we get them all back, of course, as the country does, on Monday. And to start with, it's just going to be let them interact. Yes, we've got to do all the assessments because, of course, we're way behind, and that's what they do in Foundation 1, ready for them to go up to Foundation 2, and that. But it's just basically let them, show them how to play and to share, because they wouldn't have had all that. A lot of them, again, would have tablets and things. So it's all about, getting back in there and being nice to each other.
Talking about foundation, this is a bit of an inward joke. So someone on the panel will get it, but other people won't, and I can't go any further. But I've worked with somebody in foundation, and does anybody remember this?
It's me.
It's you. That's how we used to get the children to listen.
Still works.
Yeah, I know. She used to stand in the corner and go, I can't say the name because it's part of the school, but she used to say the school group, and then she would go, "Fingers, please." And every child would stop and wiggle their fingers.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, try it.
I'm going to try that.
It.
What did you say? Fingers?
You might have a little tambourine or a little, or something like 2 little sticks, to clap.
Yes.
And then you go so that they hear, and then fingers, please, and they have to stand still. It won't happen straight away, but it'll soon happen. Today I've been somewhere doing a bit of work with a child, and there was a 2-year-old, and the nursery girl said, right, and she rang a tambourine, "Fingers, please," and this little 2-year-old, 2 years, 2 months, did it.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
Fingers, please. I'll never forget it. Never forget it. Let us know what you think as parents out there. Do you think, as you've been doing the teacher's job, do you think it's right that the teacher is grading your child? Let us know what you think. Remember, you are the 5th panel member. It's your show as well as ours. So please get in contact. Our final subject is Good Evening Grimsby.
Evening Grimsby.
We talk about
Grimsby. 2
people were caught cycling in Grimsby town centre have been fined £450 each by the North East Lincolnshire Council. Lots of chat on councils tonight. Do you feel we're just turning into a nation about money and throwing fines at everything nowadays?
I don't think you're fine enough.
Say again, sorry, Claire.
Why would they find?
Because they were cycling through the town centre.
On a pedestrian. They were cycling on pedestrian.
Right. So they know that they're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. But do you think we're just throwing fines at everything nowadays? Do you think we're just trying to get money out of everything?
Why not? At the end of the day, the rules are there, and if you break them, then you pay the consequences, don't you? They're supposed to be there to keep you safe. So, if they're cyclists and they're on a pedestrian, that's not really safe, is it? I mean, I'm not saying there was anybody around, but that's the rules, isn't it? You don't drive on a bus lane.
No.
Because they have cameras and you definitely get caught.
What do you think, Sue? Do you think...
I agree with the ladies, because I think there could have been somebody that was deaf, somebody who had a learning disability, a young child. They couldn't hear them. They could knock them over. You just don't know. And it sounds a lot of money, but you don't know whether these people had been warned before.
Yeah.
You know, they could have been warned by the PCO or something before, but I think they shouldn't be doing it. It's got to be sorted.
Yeah,
Tanya, what about you?
I just think that, me personally, I've only lived in this country for nearly 4 years. I don't think you find enough. I think you're very soft on everybody here. I think everybody's too polite. And people just take it for granted now that, you know, well, we can misbehave. They have wanton, you know, social misbehaviour, you know. I mean, luckily in the area I'm in, it's not too bad, but I don't go out at night. I mean, you know, and I know at night time they're very naughty and carrying on. And certainly I've seen cyclists, even as a driver, cyclists, I'm so worried about them because, you know, they're riding 3 abreast or something like that. And now it's the law. You must give, you know, quite a lot of space to take over, but, you know, or don't wear the right clothing or things like that. So I personally, now living in other countries, no, you don't find enough here. I think you're way too soft.
I think we're too soft.
Doesn't discourage anybody. They just know, they're just, you know, told. I can't believe it sometimes.
Okay, but my big question is they are calling this anti-social behaviour. Yeah. So with crime as high as it is nowadays, and crime, if you don't know, people, crime by the police, I've read a bit more about it. Police are warning people that as we come out of lockdown, burglary will rise because obviously we've been at home a lot. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to afford a house alarm on my house, so I set it every time I go. But they are calling this antisocial behaviour. Can you really, with antisocial behaviour this day, it's a massive, massive category, and I wouldn't personally categorise this as antisocial behaviour, riding a bike through a pedestrian area. When there's people being mugged, when there's people being assaulted and stuff like that, and they've categorised this into antisocial behaviour. I don't believe in that. What do you guys think?
But if they disregard that, then they'll disregard everything else. So it'll lead on to other things. So if they disregard driving, you know, riding a bicycle, then they'll mug somebody because they got away with it. They can do whatever they want. You can't touch them. You can't. I mean, I think there are teachers that can't. For students who, you know, physically attack them, you can't touch them. They think they've got more rights than everybody else. So no, it's the basics. You've got to start with the basics before you get on to the real crime. You've got to start from, and these are children as young, you know, they're children. They're young as 10 and 12 who are burglarizing. They're not doing it at home, are they? So unfortunately, it has to be the police that have to sort this out. But you've got to catch it at the beginning. You do not behave like this. You do not. If you don't learn respect for anybody, then you're a lost cause.
Do you agree, ladies?
I do.
Yeah, totally.
That's a big thing nowadays, respect. And it does come under antisocial behaviour because, and it is respect. And I think you have to start. And I think respect is a huge thing now, and people just don't. Oh, there's a sign there, say I don't need to cycle up there. Oh, I'll just do it anyway. No.
Well, the same with the people who are disregarding lockdown and driving.
Yeah,
and, some of them are given, well, you're disobeying the regulations. Not for you, only personally. It doesn't affect you. It affects everybody around you. So, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know whether anybody saw tonight, but on Look North, Cleethorpes was absolutely heaving at the weekend with people coming in, minibuses. They were saying people were coming. There was residents living there, and they were saying some had filmed it, and they'd said there were people from Nottinghamshire, Derby, Sheffield, Lincoln, all just coming in and just, minibuses. Well, what? We're not supposed to be driving anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's that saying in here. Give people an inch, they'll take a mile. And some people will see it as we're all okay now. June's coming up. We don't have to worry about it as much. Loose Linc does shout out, please, it's still very, very important at the moment that you do stay at home and that you don't socialise and you keep social measures up, because if we don't, June will be pushed forward to next year.
It will.
So you
It
really,
will.
really need to think about.
And they'll be the
Just
first to
yourself in the
complain.
families, and I understand parents that are struggling with children at the moment and they need to get them out and stuff like that. Take to your garden. If you can't go to your garden, take to your local area. Don't go out. We're not out the pandemic yet. And personally, I want to be cuddling friends in July. So let's all try our very best to keep it going. My last question is, a councillor has said we will fine you. Would you say this is a risk and well spent money on police services as we are at the moment?
Oh, I think they could get other people. I mean, they've got the parking officers. They could be fining them. They're pretty good at fining because they're private, aren't they? So they've got an incentive to make money. So you could have, I don't think PCOs aren't, they're not private. They're still under the government, aren't they? Yeah. So I don't think there's enough police, but who would do a policeman's job these days? Be honest. Who would do a policeman's job? As I said, there's no respect for them. So
no way I would. No way I would.
So there you are. There's a result of what the council could do with the extra money instead of the housing. They could perhaps, encourage police, some sort of system security or whatever.
Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think. Are you a bit like me? Do you think, actually, is this really antisocial behaviour? I'm obviously the Grinch of the panel this evening because the other panellists, if you agree with them that you do think it's antisocial behaviour, please get in touch. Polls will be up. Let us know your opinion as well as ours. Ladies, what an amazing show. It's been incredible. My word, I found it hard to get a word in edgeways.
Sorry.
But it's been fantastic. It's fantastic to be back, and it's fantastic to be back on your screen watching us. Thank you so much. Join us for next week's episode of Loose Links, where it'll be a whole different panel all over again. Discussing topics and subjects maybe only just around the corner from you. So make sure, because your hometown might get a shout out. Will you thank my panel this evening? Joining me, Nicholas James on the panel this evening was Claire Brown in May, Sue Craven, and our newest panel to the member is Tonya White.
Bye.
See you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. Look after yourselves. Remember, stay home and stay safe. Good night and God bless. See you soon.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.